living my childhood dream. I am envious of these kids. I really am. You know, you get to go to Camp Half-Blood and play with swords and shields and magic, and that's awesome to me. This is Harry Potter for the next generation. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Isaac Joel, your local filmmaker right here in Phoenix, Arizona, and you're listening to the Critics with Agents of Fandom. I'm very excited to be back and to be discussing one of my all-time favorite stories with you, Percy Jackson and the Olympians. I've had the chance to watch the first 4 episodes, but today we're only going to be discussing the first 2. The embargo just dropped the other day, and I am really pleased and excited with everybody's high praise towards this show. It really seems like everybody who is true fans of the original book or just haven't read the book at all and know nothing about it, it seems like everybody is having a pretty positive view and reception with what it is that they're doing with Percy Jackson and the Olympians. And that makes me really happy and proud, considering that I was not a fan of the movies that came out, Percy Jackson, the Lightning Thief, and the Sea of Monsters with Logan Lerman. Those movies, they casted adults. That was one of the biggest problems that they had, was the fact that they wanted real, like, big teenagers that looked like they were cracking 25, close to 30, playing these young characters that were going through life, that were coming of age. And I always thought that they just went too old with the movies. I also didn't really think the movies explored what was so fantastic about the books. Me personally, I have read the books when I was in elementary school. I've read the whole box set, essentially. I don't know how many there are, probably like 5 or 6 at this point, but I read each book. And I remember at the time thinking, like, this is the best story I have ever read in my life. Not only is it bringing in elements of Greek mythology and stuff that you were currently learning about in school, but it had this whole element, this Peter Parker element that everybody loves and can really see themselves and project themselves into, where it's this young adolescent child who is discovering who it is that he is inside this world. He doesn't feel like he belongs anywhere. He doesn't feel like he feels like an outsider, essentially. And that's something that everyone at one point or another can relate to. And for me, Percy Jackson was always a character that I could relate to. He was always a character that I wish I could be. You know, me personally, I'm a Cancer, man. So I'm very close to the water and very emotionally connected to what it is that the water represents, and diving into there and how he spends his time underwater thinking and healing. There is a beautiful imagery and metaphor there that they're displaying with Poseidon being his father. And I really love the reimagining with this show. I really don't think that you can make Percy Jackson into a film. I don't think that's something that I would want. I think putting it as a Disney Plus TV series was the best call for everybody, especially the fact that they actually brought the original writer and creator of Percy Jackson into it, and he actually had a say in who it was that they were casting. And I've seen the featurettes and the interviews, and I've heard him say, you know, when they were looking at him and when they were listening to the actor Walker Scobell, the problems with the movies were they were not faithful at all to the adaptation of the books. And it seems like with this series, they really wanted to kind of correct that and make this feel like we've earned it, to like we deserve this as audiences of the story. And watching the first 2 episodes, I really did enjoy myself. But I have to say, I did not love it yet. I am not quite 100% invested and sold into this yet. It was a little strange seeing that, you know, it's called Percy Jackson and the Olympians, and they took away the Lightning Thief title. I hope that they kind of continue to use the book titles. I was hoping that would be theme that they would use with each season progressing, but it doesn't seem like they're even going to be using any of the subtitles. I'm only assuming that if they go forward, the whole show will always be called Percy Jackson and the Olympians. I don't feel like there's any room for them ever to add those subtitles, and that's kind of disappointing, honestly. You know, The Lightning Thief is such a dope title, and I wish people knew that when they're watching this, that this is, you know, season 1, The Lightning Thief, the story of how he's accused of stealing the lightning bolt, which it's such a stupid thing for Zeus and everyone to accuse this child that knows nothing about his ancestors and his parents and where he comes from. They really are accusing him of stealing the bolt. That's logic you can't get past with the books. And it's very, very blatantly obvious, even more so with the show. So it kind of feels like, in a way, there's these like plot holes. There's a lot of exposition as well, and that's something that was a little bit cringeworthy when it came to the first episode, when Walker is essentially narrating for the first like 5-10 minutes, telling us all about him. Hi, I'm Percy Jackson. You may know a little bit about me, but let me tell you, you know, this ain't a story for the faint of hearts. You know, I don't love narration on that scale. I really wish that they would just tell the story. Just, you know, the less, the better. You know, you show me, don't tell me. I feel like they're constantly explaining, like, you know, what a fury is, what this is, or what that is. This is called this is called that, you know. Remember this, remember that. You know, it really does feel like I'm watching a history lesson or something that the school is making me watch, and I have to take notes and make sure I remember all this stuff for the test. I don't like that. I don't like feeling that way. I really love just jumping into the Greek mythology is such a rich storytelling genre base for people to just jump into and do whatever you want with it. Really, if you have a big imagination, there's so much that can be done there. The show feels small. It does. It feels small. The CGI is not great. I don't love the action scenes. But what I do love the most out of this show that, you know, the movies didn't have was good acting, decent acting, emotional aspects to the characters and their motivations, and there does feel like there's a little bit more sincerity and weight upon them. And so I'm more so looking forward to the last half of the season. I want to see where it is that they're going and how they wrap this up, and how they even potentially lead into a second season, because I don't want this to just end on The Lightning Thief. I want to see all the books like faithfully be portrayed. I want to see him grow up into Percy Jackson. I want to see the powers elevate. I want to see all the characters elevate. I want to see the war. I want to see the Battle of the Labyrinth. I want to see all of that go down. We need that to go down. I can't help but feel like if they had just a little bit more of a budget, maybe if this did go to cinemas, like maybe we would have gotten a lot more out of it. My biggest issue with the previous movie was The Lightning Thief wasn't even the one from the book, and I don't know necessarily if they're going to do who the original Lightning Thief from the book was into this. I hope everything is thus far staying very, very true to itself. I think they picked a great cast. I am not disappointed at all with the people that they casted as Grover, Annabeth, Percy. All signs are pointing to this being one of the best things I think that Disney Plus is going to put out as far as content and TV shows. You know, I'm not a big Star Wars guy anymore these days. I used to be, but, you know, there's just too much Mandalorian, there's too much Boba Fett, too much Obi-Wan, too much Andor and Ahsoka and this and that, and there's just a lot going on there that it's kind of like turned me off in a way, and that's where Percy Jackson needs to come in. That's where Percy Jackson is going to save us all and give us something new and different that we haven't seen before. I really think that this is a project that families can sit together around and watch and be like, oh my God, what's going to happen next week? What's going to happen? You know, I hope though the conclusion is really great. We need to have a solid conclusion to this series. If it doesn't stick the landing, if it doesn't find its voice real soon, if it doesn't find where it's going ASAP, then I don't know if I'm going to be the biggest fan of the Percy Jackson show. That's kind of where I'm at right now with it. I like it. I don't love it yet. I like what it is we're building up. I like the characters. I like the world. I like what it is that they're attempting to do, but I'm not in love with it quite yet. It doesn't look entirely finished. It doesn't look entirely polished. It seems like they put this out very, very quickly. Now, that is still yet to be said. These are just my initial thoughts on only the first 2 episodes. Okay, I cannot judge the entire show. My opinion can very well change by the time I get to the last episode. I can come back to this and be like, you know what? I actually retract everything I said about EP 1 and 2. I think that it's solid television. I think it faithfully sets up what happens in the conclusion at the end of the season and builds up more beyond that. I need this show to really stick the landing. And if it doesn't, we're going to have a big problem on our hands. Having 2 Percy Jackson pieces of content that just didn't work with audiences. I mean, you finally got a young actor. You finally have someone that looks like him, that sounds like him. And I want to really give a lot of credit to Walker Scobell. Really. He's doing the job that we all wish we could do. He's living my childhood dream. I am envious of these kids. I really am. You get to go to Camp Half-Blood and play with swords and shields and magic, and that's awesome to me. This is Harry Potter for the next generation. So I am one of the biggest Percy Jackson fans of all time, and I really hope that you guys understand that and understand where it is I'm coming from and where my skepticism is kind of coming from going forward with the show. But my opinion aside, I really do love that everyone is loving the show. It's something that we all deserved as fans. It's something that people who love the books, who like the movies, who know nothing about it, you can really just watch it and feel something new, and it will kind of resonate with you. I would love to see these kids grow up in the Percy Jackson world. They've even built up on other characters who don't even make an appearance in this whole book, in this whole season, whatever you want to call it. So it feels like they're, in a way, laying Easter eggs for future seasons to come, and I really hope that we eventually get there and get to it. I think it's one of the best things that is out there at the moment. We still have a lot more to see and a lot more to kind of judge for, but by the looks of it, I think we're really off to a great start. It's a great thing that we have the original author back. The cast is solid. I just really think that they need to step up a little bit when it comes to the settings, the action, and maturing these actors and having them feel a little bit more seasoned, because it does feel like they're fairly new to this and they're still trying to find their groove of things. But I really do think that they're getting there. I'm very optimistic about the future of Percy Jackson. What do you guys think? Have you had a chance to watch the first 2 episodes? And what do you think about Percy Jackson? Please let me know in the comments below, or tweet at me at It's Isaac Joel, and let's have a conversation. Tell me some of the best things that you loved about Percy Jackson. Tell me some of the things that you really don't love about Percy Jackson. Another thing that I didn't like was the pen. I felt like they literally just picked a generic looking pen when they could have picked something a little bit more unique, something with more design to it. So there's a lot of things I just kind of feel like, here, just throw this on, here, put this on, and we'll just move on. There's a lot in there that doesn't feel like it's fully thought out yet. I'm praying to God that they're not using any of the, what do you call it, the volume. I hope that everything is actually shot on real locations, because there's a huge disconnect for me when I see actors trying to act and then a fake location behind them. There's a huge disconnect for me, and it doesn't glue well together at all. But I'm excited for what we have coming up, and I really hope the season finale is epic by all means. I mean, epic. It has to be. That's pretty much my initial thoughts right now for the first 2 episodes of Percy Jackson. Thank you again for listening. I have been your host, Isaac Joel. I'll catch you next time.